Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, October 12th. Satellite imagery shows a disturbance here pushing up into parts of central Oregon, some clouds ahead of it, a long cold front extending down from north to south across parts of the Pacific. This is part of a deep low. It's going to drop down from the Gulf of Alaska later next week. But in the meantime, mostly clear skies. We'll have to watch this low. Could trigger some winds in some areas. So we look at the impact map. We see some of those winds ahead of that low with low humidity today in the orange and tomorrow. At the same time, a little bit further east, we do have some pockets of late day showers which could develop. And we have that threat or potential again on Monday that could lower the fire threat in some of those areas, at least temporarily. We had no precip or lightning of significance in the last 24 hours. Initial attack light, 2 fires just for 0.2 acres, but we had significant large fire growth of 7,660 acres. You can see those existing fires by the open purple circles. Bone dry the past 14 days. You can see almost no precipitation other than a few spotty areas here, which are just a couple hundredths of an inch, and that's over the course of 14 days, and some of that was just radar estimated not reaching the ground. This image on the right tells the whole story. 0 to 5% of normal rainfall region-wide over the past 14 days, and that's affected some of our drought indices. So on the drought monitor, these areas in brown and orange are moderate to severe drought, and in western Wyoming, even pockets of extreme drought, and some extreme droughts bleeding over into maybe even parts of extreme northeastern portions of the Salmon Chalice. On the right-hand side, the flash drought indicator, called the Evaporator Demand Drought Index, flashing its highest signals across many areas of Wyoming, Idaho, the mountains of Utah, and even a good portion of the higher terrain of Nevada and the Sierra Front itself. So definitely bone dry. You can see the ERC point map. So many stations in the 90th to 97th percentiles given by these designations. And for that reason, we have issued a fuels and fire behavior advisory late last week for the entire region. The areas in red for the record low fuels, which actually exist in all areas, but there's also a combined effect of what we had earlier this season. That's above normal fuel loading in some of the lower to middle elevations of northern Nevada and parts of southwest Idaho. So continuing to see those factors as well. And look at some of the fuel charts here in Wyoming. These are ERCs. The gray is where we normally should be. And in that gray, you can see where we normally peak out at in the late summer months. You can see where we are now, well above those levels, into record territory, into the 90th percentile. And this is representative of much of the region. So we go down to the Arizona Strip. You can see that we're towards the 97th percentile, well above the early July peak that we have. So just very dry, many areas. So for today, and please excuse the white border here, but we have dry air undercutting. Here's the low further north that could produce some maybe clouds, maybe a sprinkle. We'll see, of course, parts of Idaho. But in this dry tongue here, we do have high risk for winds. And we see those winds here. Basically 20 to 30 mile an hour gusts from the dark green to the orange areas, the low humidity in the upper single digits to mid to upper teens in these areas. Now for tomorrow, that low pressure sits here. The moisture of it goes a bit further to the east. We could see spotty isolated showers, maybe even a stroke of lightning in some of these areas, but on the lower side of it, there are still dry winds. We have high risk for critical winds and low humidity. Once again, you see those winds here from the Arizona Strip right on up into parts of southwest Utah, 25 to maybe 35 miles an hour. Humidity, again, upper single digits to low and mid-teens in those areas. And that low, it's a dry low in most areas except further east where there could be some spotty showers. But some of those showers could moisten up briefly some of our PSAs in southeastern Utah. The winds should die down tomorrow. Humidity still pretty dry, although it starts coming up a bit across central and eastern portions of Utah, and also coming up a little bit up in Idaho as well. 3-day precipitation total. So it would be, of course, parts of central to eastern Utah, especially in the south. We could see a couple hundredths of an inch, enough to dampen things down. Nothing that's going to put things to bed permanently. But we are looking at a somewhat better solution for putting things down a bit later in the week. So Tuesday, you see this long front. We saw this on the satellite imagery earlier. It's starting to approach, and there's another deeper low behind it. So still some moisture being pulled up into eastern Utah. There'll be more spotty showers and higher humidity there. And then by Wednesday, that front kind of splits in two, but at the northern portion, this dark green, fairly thin line, will bring maybe 2 to 4 hours of showers across parts of Idaho and into parts of Wyoming, maybe, and probably clipping the northern quarter of or northeastern quarter of Nevada, and eventually into the Uintas of Utah as well. We start introducing some yellows through here. Now, as this low deepens, it's going to draw in more moisture, so we see a larger area of green here across Idaho into northern Utah and Uintas. This is going to be more beneficial. This could be maybe 4 to 8 hours of light to locally moderate precipitation. You see more zones in the yellow through here, and then this low starts deepening here, and actually some moderate precipitation for eastern Utah, including the up in our current fire up in the Uintas and Wasatch, and into Wyoming. So this could definitely bring some more moisture and cooling. See, most of our PSAs, just about all of them, have gone into the yellow. And as we get closer and this certainty of this event becomes better and better, we may have to introduce some green into the regions, because the precipitation you see here, parts of Utah, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch in these dark greens to blues. Also similar amounts in parts of Idaho and into western Wyoming, and lighter amounts further in Nevada, but still this time of year you get a couple hundredths to 1/10 of an inch. It takes a while to burn that off. The 8 to 14 day outlook, we see a return to normal late October conditions, and that's good news. The warmer further south. We do see drier conditions returning to southern areas, but more normal to even some better chances up in the Pacific Northwest. So the pattern's definitely changing. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.